Yo, what people? I guess I could say hi, huh? I was focusing. Hey there, people. I don't know if there's anybody out there that would want to just watch some old lady stream. Alright. I do this and get out the energy that was going on in my house. Okay, what is this? Okay. Nope, I'm not going to share that. Okay. Doing some reading on some medical journals. And make sense about this Tylenol, autism, ADHD stuff that's going on in the news. Seeing what all they're saying. But yeah, having to go through all the medical journals myself because you know how it is. They're only going to present one or two, and if you want reality, you really need to look at all of them, and you need to look at all of the parameters because they're not all the same. So the ones that were presented, I guess, in the news, at least the ones that my daughter sent to me, were saying that I thought I wrote it down. They were testing for the link between autism and Tylenol, but it was with siblings. It had something to do. There's a terminology for it. It's called familial confounding. So the study that they presented was not exactly as it was presented to me. Well, to anyone, to the public. But I just wanted to go look through some of the other studies that were specifically just for pregnancy and autism and ADHD. Has nothing to do with familial links or if the siblings have it or anything like that. Because that's a non-factor in our conversation that we were having. So yes, I was reading up on some of those. So I'm not just a complete nerd that just sits around reading medical journals. But actually, that's not true. I do. Maybe I'm a nerd, but that's okay. I don't mind being a nerd. I love to learn. I'm glad I like to learn because there's so many ways I could have had the wool pulled over my eyes, or I could have been like one of the sheeple that I know. There's a lot of that happening, and it's pretty scary. I'm hoping that I'm able to find my people by reaching out on here because I live in a very small town. There's only 5,000 people in this town, and it has not grown since I was a child. There's been 5,000 people here my entire life. And we're right outside of Austin, so why hasn't this town grown, right? And the people that are here are very small-minded. They don't get out much. They don't go to the cities. If they do, it's a couple times a year. I understand, if they're not used to driving in the city and stuff like that because the traffic is terrible. The drivers are terrible. It's really bad in San Antonio because there's a lot of one-way streets. If you're not familiar with where you are, that can not only become very stressful but very dangerous, especially in a town like San Antonio. And so even San Marcos is extremely dangerous too, right there along the I-35 corridor going to Austin. The whole area from like Dallas to Waco is pretty desolate, and that's kind of dangerous out there. And then it's kind of dangerous down here because there's just so many carjackings that have been going on. Carjackings have become so prevalent that I actually have slowed down working out of town because that's where I work out of town is where a lot of that's been happening. And I'm really brave in a lot of ways, but I ain't that brave because You have zero control over that whatsoever. If you are being preyed upon, you're already at a deficit. So yeah, I don't carry a firearm, and I can't, even if I were a concealed carrier, which I'm about to become one. I'm actually going. I can open carry in Texas. I'm in Texas, by the way. Oh yeah, I already said that. But yes, so the stuff that's going on in San Antonio, there's a lot of crime happening right now. There's like a crime wave in San Antonio right now. So I definitely would not want to send anybody that direction, especially if they're not used to driving in the city. I would understand if they say they don't drive at all in the city, much less, don't like to drive there now. But I know people that can't even drive in the smaller towns, that are around 25,000, 30,000, 40,000. Those are still fairly busy in some areas, and I do know some people that wouldn't be able to drive that if you paid. So I'm cleaning out a drawer here. Got extremely messy. But I was just stating that I understand why people don't want to drive in the city, especially the cities like Austin growing so rapidly. The growth in Austin has been exponentially mind blowing, but the growth in Kyle totally surpassed Austin's growth. The growth in Kyle, I believe I saw it said, okay, so I'm a I'm a native. This is where I'm from. And Kyle used to be one of the places that some of my friends from high school were at, and right out of high school, they grew up in the Hayes Consolidated School District in Kyle, Buda area. And so uh, I believe back then the population of Kyle was around 10,000 people, if that. It's like barely growing, is barely new. And then I grew up, I became a mom, my whole adulthood happened in Austin. And so after I left Austin and moved back here in 2009, I started traveling up to Kyle because I worked in Buda, actually at Cabela's. So once I moved down here, I had to commute back and forth. And so I would stop in Kyle and get groceries at the HEB, the large store, large HEB. And back then, I think Kyle had about 160,000 people, if that. But that was a lot. No, I'm sorry, not 60, about 40,000 people. But now, I saw some stats that said and so that would have been in 2009, 2010. So I saw some stats. I want to say that in um, the 2020 census was 90,000 people. And now the population is 120. That's 10,000 people a year. 10,000 new people per year. That is insane for a town the size of Kyle. If anybody is listening that's not familiar with Kyle, it's probably about the square foot size, the geographic size of, like, let's see, something that hasn't changed a whole lot. Let's say maybe, like, I would say Taos, but I think Taos is probably too small. Kyle's not that big. Kyle's pretty small, but it is all city. It's just schools and stores back to back to back to back, all so close. So there's no room for any growth at all. there are subdivisions where I live in apartments right now, and I was telling my son yesterday that he had coughed real loud, and he was standing in the hall. I mean, in the dining area, and I'd walked down. Well, so my neighbor, the elevation is low, it's down. So when I walk over her place, I'm walking at an incline or decline, and so I told him I could hear him out there. That was a good 50 feet, and the door was open and it was down, pointing down. So, of course, sound travels like that. Of course, I'm going to hear it. Those places in Kyle, he could be in his house with the doors closed and stuff, and his neighbors would be able to hear that. That's how close the houses are in Kyle. Pain management. Okay. So make sure I word all that right. I sent it a text like 4 different people. Trying to give somebody a wrong phone number. And they have been waiting for pictures of something. Anyway. What were we talking about? Yep. I put this thing in my mouth. Not there. Anyway, I have so many things that I could talk about. I don't know what people listen to. I don't know what people want to talk about. There's a lot of crazy shit going on in this world, I'll tell you that. I don't know why we're talking about people not wanting to drive. At home. I'm so bad about always having candy in my mouth, but I don't always have a drink with me in the car. And it is Texas. It is hot. Sometimes if I don't have a drink with me, the next best thing is candy. I'm sure it probably isn't good health-wise, but a lot of things aren't good health-wise, but what can you do? I read for my rubber bands. One of the neighborhood girlies was over here, and she picked it up. She happened to be standing right above my trash can. And she, I'll put it up sideways, and when she did, all the rubber bands fell out. They just went right in the trash, and I was like, oh, well, that was a good place for them to fall. So, dude, don't sweat it. I would refill it, and there we go. I just went and refilled it. So, there are 2 little girls and a little boy, and they were kiddos that come by, but so there's little rubber bands, so, you know, one of them's over here, and they need to throw a piece of hair back. I got them covered. I have several of the little, there was a really nice bookshelf. It must have been gone because I didn't notice it today. A really nice bookshelf. I don't even know if I went down that road today. It would be perfect for Kyle's room. Kyle is my son. And I think that if I went back over there, I would grab it. I'm probably going to throw my back out, though. It is very, very solid. Heavy. It's heavy, solid wood. But, anyway. I didn't figure out what all I need going on. Okay. Or what all I have going on. Plus, I have to work in the morning. Which, it's not a big deal. And which one is the driver? Roll you some in advance, so you don't have to roll every time you're going to smoke. So, I trying to determine what my content should be. Sorry, I was reading. I'm trying to determine what my content should be. I'm not a spring chicken. So, talking about little youth details be kind of silly unless I'm just doing news. There's plenty of news carriers, news providers, a lot of good podcasters, a lot of good bloggers, vloggers, whatever the term is. So that would be a waste. However, I could cover pop culture with other stuff. I don't know what age range bracket I'm looking for. I could cook. I could talk about just about anything. I have so much background. I have so many experiences. I've lived in a couple of different places. I've got a lot of fun stuff I could talk about. I don't know what to talk about. So I'm going to um, probably do some research on, I guess, little niches and go from there. But yeah, I'm going to find it hard to just get on here daily and upload videos just to talk to the air. So I'm going to have to really find something to talk about. Not just talking to myself. I need something to talk about. So, adios. Good night, people. I figure I have to turn the sucker off. There we go. Big old end stream button.